Welcome to my Seed Starting for Spring Success webinar. Everyone is going to be filtering in over the next couple of moments, so we're going to give folks a chance to join us. Oh, and I need to make sure I can see who is here. We've got a full group today. I can see there's at least 10 of you, which is awesome. So welcome, thank you. It would be super great if you guys want to throw your name into the chat and introduce yourselves, and perhaps you can share how long you have been a fan of Jocelyn Soil Booster or participating in this community. I know we've got a lot of new folks that have been joining us recently who are interested in regenerative growing, in growing at home without chemicals. But there's also a ton of you that have been around for years and years. So welcome all. I'm so excited. This is absolutely one of my favorite activities, and I'm really looking forward to introducing you guys how to do it. I have a few different techniques to go through today. And of course, as always, there's going to be an opportunity at the end to answer questions live. So what I'm going to suggest as we're just getting started here today is, as I'm going through, if you have a question, if something isn't clear, throw that in the chat. We do have people monitoring the chat, so if there's something in the middle that needs to be clarified, I will. But again, at the end, at about 20 to 1 or so is when I'll be looking to take and answer those questions directly for anybody that's wondering about particular issues. So again, really excited to have everyone today. I'm going to first start with some high-level introduction to key principles that apply to indoor seed starting. After that, I'm going to go through 3 different techniques for starting your own seeds at home. And then there will also be a discount code offered near the end of the session for those of you who want to use some of our awesome regenerative growing products. And then, of course, the Q&A I mentioned already. So welcome, everybody. I'm just going live here. I'm keen to see who is in the group. Holy moly, we got Ann, we got 2 Anns. Welcome, Colleen, Corinna, John, Julie, Kim. Kim's my accountant. Kim, we love you. Thanks for coming. Peter Clark, also love Peter Clark. Both Peters. We love you guys. Susan, holy, Walter, God, so many familiar faces. This is exciting. Thank you, guys. All right, so let's get started with seed starting. So the first thing to appreciate is figuring out which seeds you want to start indoors. And I've gone through and I've picked seeds. We're going to use seeds today that are beginner friendly, because I know a lot of you are joining us because you haven't had a chance to do this in the past. So when it comes to seeds that you want to start indoors, a critical piece to understand is, of course, what do you want to plant in your garden? So you do ideally do your garden planning in advance to know which crops are you going to be growing this year, how many of those plants are you going to need. Of course, when you're seed starting, you always anticipate that some of the seeds are not going to germinate. We're going to talk about different ways to help improve rates of germination, but you'll always start more seeds than you anticipate actually needing. The second thing to appreciate is to know that some seeds or some types of plants do not like to be transplanted. So a really great example of this would be carrots. Carrots cannot be started indoors. They cannot be started in advance. In fact, this is why you won't be able to buy carrot seedlings at the garden center either. It's simply not something that plant appreciate or works well with, going from a small container out into your garden. So carrot seeds, you don't want to start those indoors. You have to start those directly wherever they're going to grow out. The second thing to consider, of course, is the length of germination. So some seeds are really, really quick to germinate. So for example, today, one of the seeds we're going to be planting is lettuce. Lettuce is an awesome beginner seed to start with for a few reasons. First of all, lots of different types, and depending on what your preference is for taste and flavor, you can find a type of lettuce that you're probably going to like. Second of all is lettuce is actually a cool weather crop. So unlike heat lovers like tomatoes or eggplants or peppers, which are really, really finicky about temperature and always need to be warm enough from the moment you start those seeds, lettuce are a little bit more forgiving. I am going to show you the heat map. We're going to talk a little bit about temperature, but when it comes to beginning, lettuce is a great start. It is also a really, really fast germinator. So we're talking like less than a week, 2 to 5 days, in fact, is average for when you plant your lettuce to when you start seeing those little sprouts pop up. And for a few reasons, that's incredibly important when you're beginning it. The first is, and I can tell you I made this mistake myself, is if you pick a crop that takes a bit longer. So we're also going to plant some onions. Onions are good for beginners as well. They're happy to be transplanted. The challenge is they take longer to germinate, a couple of weeks. And so the challenge can be if you're unclear how long you should be waiting until you see the seed sprouting, it's definitely possible that you may wait weeks and weeks and weeks and not really appreciate that something went wrong. Maybe you used a seed pack that had low germination or was too old. Like I said, I made this mistake where, I'm in week 3, nothing has germinated. I can't figure out why. And if I had only realized that it should have sprouted after week 1, I could have identified the issue earlier on. So lettuce is nice because it germinates really quickly. It's also just more rewarding when you don't have to wait, weeks and weeks to see those little sprouts come out of the soil. Kale is another excellent option. It's not dissimilar to lettuce. It's a little bit slower to germinate. We're looking at about a week to 10 days, but it's also a cold hardy crop. So again, if you guys are itching to get out into your garden, lettuce, kale are great options to be starting now because they, in fact, can go out before the frost has ended. So this is the next big point. And actually, I'm going to go get my seed. Sorry, thought I had it. Hold tight 1 second. I'm going to go grab my seed starting catalog, which I know is around here somewhere. Where is it? Okay, I can't really find it right just this minute. So, okay, no worries, doesn't matter. I'll do without it. But so what I was going to suggest is sign up for West Coast Seeds. And I love West Coast
Douglas.
Seeds. I've got some of their tomatoes here we're going to be using in a sec. And order one of their seed catalogs. It is a beautiful document. It has so much information, and it also will tell you exactly when, for your region, whether you're here in southwestern Ontario or wherever you are across the country, it will tell you when you can start each particular type of plant based on how long it's going to take to germinate and when your particular frost or end of frost date is. So a lot of people, like in the GTA, for example, May 2-4 or the May long weekend is when they consider frost to have finished. So they will count back whether it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, depending on the length of the germination period to grow out to be a full seedling. There's some math involved. There's some calendars involved. Again, it depends on your location and seed. So my best tip there is to get yourself the West Coast Seed Catalog, and that has all that information, so you don't have to worry about it. It's clearly laid out. And I'm sorry, I thought it was here, but not sure where it went. However, the other thing I really want to mention, of course, is that you can, like I was saying, you can plant cold weather crops out early. So things like kale, things like lettuce, they can actually go out before that frost turnaround time. So we're talking even in the beginning of May. So right now is a great time to be starting lettuce, kale. In terms of things like tomatoes or other hot weather crops, I am going to show you guys how to do tomatoes. Here where I am, our frost isn't over until June. We're a little bit more north, so it would actually be a little bit early for me to be starting these tomatoes. And I'll tell you why this matters. You don't want to start your seeds too early, because if the plants grow too much and they get too big, you're not going to be able to move them outside or to move them outdoors during the day to harden them off, and they're going to start to become unhappy indoors. A big part of that has to do with light. And light, in this case, when you're starting seeds, you're going to have the best success if you can purchase some supplementary lighting. In this case, I would recommend go on Amazon, find LED grow lights. You only need one that's about 2 foot. I'm really lucky. I have a whole vertical gardening set up in the barn. We weren't able to bring it into the kitchen today, but ideally, if you have some grow lights, they even come on a stand, that's really going to improve the quality of your seed starting techniques. What other things do I want to mention here at the beginning? You know what? I'm going to grab some of the tools that I need to get started here, and those are my trays. I didn't quite have enough room on my my desk here to get going with all these. Oh, there's the catalog. How did I miss that? Ah, it's right here. Okay, so I knew it was around here somewhere. I'm going blind in my old age, I guess. So West Coast Seeds, like I said, they've got a really beautiful catalog, and you'll see here, this is what you're looking for. It's right in the middle. This very looks complicated, but in fact, it very clearly tells you start indoors, direct sow. That means you're going to be starting, you have to direct sow them outdoors, and then also when you're going to transplant them outdoors. So really, really useful, this particular guide. Highly recommend that. All right, so let's get started on our seed trays. So this is another critical component to your setup. Again, a nice thing about these trays is that you order them once and you use them year after year. So you don't have to get rid of them. You do want to, of course, clean them well. When you're starting fresh every season, you wouldn't want to transfer any pathogens, or there could be mold growing if they weren't properly cleaned out. So I'm very lucky. I have a team here to help me, and they've already gone ahead and done that cleaning. So there's a few different options here for seed starting, and I'm going to show you what we have. So this is a base tray that could also be used, and in fact, I'm going to show you how to use this as well. These are seed cells. So these are really nice and handy if you're concerned about exactly how many seeds, how many seedlings you want to grow. We're going to count out and place them in here. And you would also want to sit them in a bottom container. Seeds are very sensitive to moisture. That is one of the biggest things to appreciate, to learn. And so if you can have a tray on the bottom and water these seedlings from the bottom, you're going to have a much higher success rate. It's going to ensure a more even moisture level. The quickest way to kill your seedlings is to let them dry out. And I have to admit, that's one of the reasons why I love using my, making a mess, regenerative potting soil. You'll see that product here, and I have a big bin of it that I'm gonna use. Oh, running out of space. So, didn't mean to do that. So what I'm going to show you here is this is the raw regenerative potting soil. It's peat-free. This is the best potting soil to be using to start your seeds. And I'll tell you why it is. It's not just because I invented it and I formulated it, and I'm so proud of this product, given that it is so environmentally friendly.
Douglas,
But it's also incredibly
are you
effective.
able to assist me or are
And
you busy?
it's effective because it's a living soil.
I can't get any sound
A
on my
lot
little
of
show on
general
Zoom.
practice out there or advice you read on the
Yeah, it's on
internet
Zoom.
would
Yeah.
suggest that
Never
you
Zoom.
want to use
Okay.
a
Let me
seed
see. What are you
starting
doing?
Well, just
mix,
hold on. I got to get it
or what they
back.
would call a
Let's go down to the bottom
sterile
first.
Yes.
substrate mix.
I
Look at
turned
that
And
sound.
this
See
is
what it
incorrect.
says?
And I will
Just
tell you
press
why.
on sound. Sound.
Seeds
This is
respond,
sound.
even
That's
when they're
sound
in
there.
their little
Yes.
seed
That's
case,
volume.
they
Okay.
respond to the
Anything comes up.
microbiology that
Volume.
is around them in the
Decrease.
soil. And they
Well, then
interact
just
with
press
this
that and see what it
bacteria,
does.
with this fungi, with these
Manage
protozoas.
Netflix. Connect.
It's
It's
this
clear. That's
biology that
okay.
tells them
You
that
missed
there
the
are
sound.
enough nutrients in the soil, that the conditions are right, that they have the community available to support them. Remember, I always say this, I'll say it once, I'll say it a million times. Microbes are like the Uber Eats delivery system of the soil. And they need to be there for the seedling, for the plant, to get the nutrients that they need, the right nutrients at the right time. Without the biology, the plant, the seedling, the roots are stuck,
No
That's
sound.
okay.
and they're
Let me in
simply unable to access exactly what they need. So the common term to use a sterile seed mix is in fact incorrect. And what the science shows, and this is new science, so maybe
It
that's
keeps
why there
coming
is
off
this
again.
misconception. The science shows that the healthiest seedlings are going to be the ones that are grown in a living soil with lots of microbiology. All right, so I've done my little explanation why my soil is so great. Of course,
But
it's
for
peat
whatever
free,
reason,
so
it
we're not
doesn't change the
damaging our critically important peatlands. The last thing to mention, the reason I'm not using this straight out of the bag is that it does need to be pre-soaked. And again, this comes back. I was talking about moisture, I got a little segued, but now I'm back. Moisture, really critical when you're starting your seeds. And if it's not consistently moist, you're going to lose a lot of your seedlings, or your germination just ain't gonna happen for you. So by pre-soaking the soil, prays into the cells,
On full
they're
volume.
very loosely placed. They're very delicately placed. We're going to start with some kale here. And if you've never really started your own seeds, or it's been a while, it always surprises me how darn small these seeds are.
Got
Most
nothing on there.
incredibly small. So you can
tested
see
the
here,
speaker
it's
doesn't do anything.
the size of a pinhead almost. Some, like pumpkin seeds, squash seeds, tend to be a little bit bigger, but the majority of the seeds you'll work with, incredibly small.
It's a microphone.
And
That's a
if you
speaker.
have to water them aggressively to get that consistent moisture,
See, that's
it's very possible you're going to disrupt the
when I
placement
talk, you can
of
see it
that
going up
seed.
and down.
So you're much better off to have pre-moistened, pre-soaked your potting soil, your substrate that you're starting your seeds in. And then you only need to either water from below, which is ideal, or very gently water from above. I'll show you that in a minute. So here I have my kale seeds. I don't really know how to show you them, but hopefully you can see them. And I'm going, in each of these cells, I'm going to just pick up a small handful, probably about 2 or 3, and I'm just sprinkling them on the surface. I'm not even pushing them in. And that's because if the seed is too deep, it won't be able to germinate. And the general rule of thumb you want to follow is that a seed only needs to be planted about twice as deep as it is wide or as it is the diameter. My producer, you're all right there, Nat? You're giving me some worried looks. Everything's okay? All right. Good. So again, we're at this point, I am just sprinkling 3 or 4 seeds in each cell on top of the soil. All right, so I've done that first row and carefully putting these back into the, now, I should have mentioned this before, but going to mention it now. And that is that it's important to take a look at the seeds that you're using. I think I mentioned earlier that I had an unfortunate experience waiting weeks and weeks for a tray of seeds to germinate, only to realize that in fact the seeds were much too old and we weren't going to get any germination.
Yes.
And it's true. So here's something to remember.
Funny thing is, I didn't have any
Last
problems
about 5 years. I am pushing the limits. I can tell you this is a seed pack from 2021. So I am really pushing my luck here with these babies. But like I said, I have confidence that the microbiology here is really going to ensure success. But the fresher the seed, the newer the seed, the better the overall germination rate. The other thing to keep in mind when you're looking at your seed pack, they are required to tell you the rate of germination. So for example, on this tomato seed pack, it says 96%. So this seed maker has tested and they're providing an assurance that if you plant 100 seeds properly, that you're going to get approximately 96 of those germinating. If you look at something like the onions, that germination rate is a little bit lower, about 92%. So that can also influence how many seeds you want to start because it gives you a sense of how successful the germination is going to be. Now, back to our kale seedlings here. This is my secret sauce tip for success. If you're going to do one thing, if you're going to listen to me, if you're going to purchase one of my products, purchase the worm manure. It is the best solution for all your growing challenges. You can use it indoors, outdoors. It's super concentrated living biology for your plants. And it's useful in so many different techniques. In this particular technique, I'm going to use the worm manure to just lightly sprinkle. We're talking like a 1/4 inch here, people, like barely anything, just enough to cover those kale seedlings. Like this handful is going to do this whole row. That is how powerful this product is, how fully charged with a variety of biology. This is high quality shit. That's what I'm talking about, right? And this is going to, well, it's going to do a couple of things. One thing to remember, seeds do need darkness to germinate. And this is built in to the seed mechanism, to how it knows when it's time to pop its coating and begin its growth process. If that seed is still exposed to light, most seeds, almost all seeds, will not germinate because they know that they're too high in the soil, they're exposed to the air, and they're not, and ultimately it means moisture is going to be a problem, right? Keep coming back to that moisture thing. So in this case, we want to add just enough of the worm manure on top to cover the seed, make sure it knows, now's the time, you're good to go, you can pop. But we, again, don't want to put too much of a layer. We don't want to make it too difficult. The other nice thing about the worm manure is it's very light and fluffy. It's a very even, consistent product. So it's not going to create any additional difficulties for those seeds. All right, oh, yes, this is a critical thing. So at this point, I'm going to just spray my cells, spray my seeds. And the reason I'm not using a watering can is that a watering can, even if it has little holes on the end, it tends to be a little bit aggressive. It's a little bit unnecessary for our gentle seeds that we really don't want to disturb them. And I have done this myself. I'm thinking, oh, I'll be really delicate with the watering can, and one slip of the wrist, and next thing you know, you splash the seeds out, and it's game over. So get yourself a handy spray bottle. Again, as I mentioned, keeping your seeds consistently moist but not wet is one of the critical tips for success. And if you have a handy spray bottle, keep it right by your seeds. Every day when you're out there taking a look, when you're whispering sweet nothings, encouraging them to grow, which is also really important. They're sentient beings. They need TLC and encouragement and love, just like all of us do. That's what you're going to also want to do, is keep them nice and moist, right? All right, so this is really important as well. Where is my masking tape? I can't find my masking tape. I know I had it somewhere. Has anybody seen my masking tape? Okay, so I can't really find my oh, no, that's not it. Oops. Who left this next here? All right, so I'm trying to find my masking. Oh, it's right here. There's my masking tape. So another piece that is a tip, trust me, I've learned it the hard way, as I tend to learn most things, is you really want to label your seed cells. Especially in this case, because I'm going to be using this for different seeds. And the reason for that is that when seeds pop, when they sprout, they pretty much all look identical. You cannot tell one seedling from another seedling from a third seedling until they're so far along that it's time to move them outside. So you always want to label your seedlings in a way that it's very clear what row or what tray is what. And in this case, I'm labeling it kale. And I would also suggest that you label the date that you started it. So today is March 27th. And I think it's the 27th. And so again, that way I'm just keeping a track. If after a week, 10 days max, I haven't seen some tiny little green friends popping up, I know something here isn't right. I gotta investigate further. One of the other tools that I would highly recommend for seed starting, and again, this is one you purchase it once and you can use it year after year, is a heat mat. So this is a seedling heat mat, again, ordered online, and you just plug it in. There are fancier ones that you can adjust, like the timing and the temperature, but you know what? I found that this brand, they come in a 4-pack, work really well. You just plug them in. I think they keep it at about between 70 and 75 Fahrenheit. And that is ideal. Oh, and it also tells you approximate days to germination. That's handy. Could have used that when I screwed up my other seeds a couple years ago. But anyway, the point is you're going to put your seedling tray on the heat mat, plug it in, and that's going to ensure consistent warmth. And once this kale, or if I was using the lettuce, once the seedlings have come up, I would likely remove the heat mat, because again, they are cold weather crops. They don't need a lot of ongoing warmth, but it is critical for those initial germination dates. This is in contrast to a warm weather crop like a tomato, which we're going to do next. Okay, here's another tip. Don't let your seed packs get wet, just like I did. So this tomato pack is now wet. That is a problem, because that is going to trigger germination. So I definitely have to use this pack now, because it's gotten damp. The seeds, if I were to put this away, the seeds would begin to germinate. And when I went back to actually use them in a couple weeks, they are going to be null and void, and it was due to my own poor maintenance of my space. So getting a little bit claustrophobic here. I think what I'm going to do, so I want to show you a quick way. So this was the best practice way. why don't we call this the best practice way? I showed you how to seed your seeds. They're going to be very organized. Each cell is going to produce, I put 3 or 4 kale. Probably we're going to get 2 or 3 seedlings. They could then be divided and potted up. One thing, so folks always ask, oh, Jocelyn, you must have a great garden. You must have so many vegetables growing and everything. And oh, okay. Whoops, this is not good here. What's happening? I'm already making a mess.
That's just for the speaker. That's
the reality is that as a worm farmer, I am so busy in the spring that I generally don't have a lot of time to start seeds. And so what I've learned over the years is there is a faster way to do it, and I'm going to show you. So I showed you like the technically correct way, and now I'm going to show you the quick and dirty way.
Anyway,
which is really. Where's my shovel?
Friday before noon, open the email, click on the Zoom meeting, no prep required.
Okay. Sorry guys, I'm a little bit combobulated today. You know what? I think I could just pour this. So, speaking of quick and dirty, this is the fastest way to fill your seed tray. And remember, I've pre-soaked this soil, so it's ready to go. I'm gonna just sort of fill that seed tray in like that. Is that enough? Okay, well, pretty close, a little bit more. One thing, I'm not sure if you could see at home, one thing about filling your seed cells or seed trays is it's okay to fill it more or less to the top line because it is going to compact over time a little bit. This is just natural, and in particular, it's because if you're using my soil or any kind of seed starting mix, it's quite voluminous, quite lofty. And this is a good thing because it's going to make it easier for that seed to sprout, to break out of its shell, so to speak. And but then over time, it's going to settle a little bit, especially each time as you're watering it. So don't be shy about filling your seed tray. So I filled my seed tray, dumped the soil in, and now I'm taking my tomatoes that have gotten a little bit damp, and you don't get all that many in a pack. So this is not a great example. But what I would say is that the easiest way, so I just sprinkle the seeds on top of the soil. So I'm not counting them out. I'm not carefully placing. Ain't nobody got time for that. In this case, this is called a broadcast application. So you often hear this term outdoors and gardening, and you can kind of think of like it's sort of, you're taking handfuls and you're just broadcasting it across the soil. Basically doing the same technique here, but for an indoor seed starting tray. It's not quite as neatly organized. It's not quite as systematic or structured, but I can tell you it's a hell of a lot faster. So if you're like me and you're short on time, because ultimately what's going to happen after these seeds sprout is that they're going to get transplanted and they're going to get potted up. That's going to be in the next episode. So either way, whether they're neatly organized in a tray, I've just added those few handfuls of the worm manure over. And again, going to use my spritzer to ensure even moisture level. And I'll tell you, because this is a tomato crop that I've started here, it definitely will go on a seed mat. It'll stay on a seed mat, a heat mat, excuse me, and it's going to take a little bit longer to germinate. We're talking a couple of weeks, and that is highly dependent on temperature. So if you have a warmer, like the seed mat helps a lot, but even the ambient temperature is critically important. So in this case, oh, I know why I had those things over there. Let me grab another for success. And that is these beautiful clear heat domes or moisture domes. What we're talking about here ultimately is that it is a way to create a little mini greenhouse effect for your seeds. So generally the greenhouse effect is a very bad thing because it is heating up our climate and we are continuing to put excessive amounts of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere. One of the ways, unfortunately, we're doing that is using a lot of peat in our horticultural potting soil, which is why we don't use peat. However, in this case, a little heat dome, a little greenhouse effect is actually to our benefit. And that is for a few reasons. It's going to magnify any sun, any warmth, any light that's going to get in here. It's going to trap it, which is what we want. And it's also going to hold that moisture in. So again, when we go back to this idea of, maintaining moisture is rule number one, having a heat dome is really helpful. Now, if you don't have the fancy setup like this, there's other things you can use, like saran wrap works, takeout containers. Lots of people start their seeds in takeout containers. I would suggest putting some holes in the bottom first, but then you've got that clear lid and away you go. You've got your own little greenhouse to start your seedlings. Remember, it's only after they've sprouted that they start to really need intensive light. So at this stage, you're okay if you don't have your lights ordered, but as soon as they sprout, you do want to get them out into the sun. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to put this off to the side. I have one more very exciting technique, and it is a bit more of an advanced technique that I'm going to share with you. Oh geez, you know what? I forgot to do something, and all right, so it's a little audience giveaway. We've never done this before. When I was starting those seeds, I forgot to do something, that tomato batch. If you can put in the chat what it was that I forgot to do, we will send you a free giveaway pack of the worm manure, 4 kg, and the potting soil. So for those of you paying attention at home, first person to drop in the chat. Sorry guys, I'm such a mess sometimes. For those of you that know me, my nickname is Mess Monster. So anyway, that's a giveaway. See, I'm excited. I've never done a live giveaway, so we'll see those of you who caught what I did wrong there. Last thing, we got a few more minutes. I've told you I really love this topic. I'm already over time, but the point is I want to show you a way to really increase your germination rate. And this is a great way when you have seeds that are premium or heirloom or in low supply. So for example, let's say your long departed grandmother, handed you some magic beans, and you only got 3 of them, and you got to make sure that they germinate, because it's on you to continue. Your name, Jack maybe, and you gotta get up and grow that beanstalk. So you need your beans to germinate. This is the way to give yourself the best possible shot. It is a little bit more advanced. So the first thing we're going to do here is we need some paper towel, and I'm going to do this in a tray because it is a little bit messy. My middle name. And this here is a seed soak. So this has been soaking for about 12 hours. This is approximately a cup of water and a tablespoon of the worm manure. Back to yet another great way to use this product. And what we're doing here is we're taking the biology that is on the worm castings and we're soaking it in the water to grow that population of microorganisms. As soon as they get in the water, they start to multiply, and it also allows it to coat the seeds. That's ultimately what we're doing here, is we're doing a seed coating. This is, again, an advanced maneuver. It's something that that a lot of actually farmers, so for those of you that are interested in how regenerative growing is being practiced on a large scale, I can tell you that the most forward-thinking farmers are using a seed soak of a natural product like mine to improve the germination rates. It's the most effective way, it's the most value-oriented way to take a super concentrated biological amendment and make it really go the distance and provide a huge ROI. So that's why farmers use it on a large scale, and that's also why I wanted to show you on a small scale. So I have a handful here of the onion seeds. And what I'm going to do, I've just laid the paper towel down into this container, and I'm first going to pour my water in. I don't want to put too much, just enough for the paper towel to soak it up and get a nice even soak there. Okay, so you guys can kind of see that. That worked out well. Good thinking, Jocelyn. Okay, so get it nice and soaked. Don't want it too wet, otherwise it's going to make our lives difficult. And then what I'm going to do is on half of that paper towel, I'm going to sprinkle the seeds. I'm going to try and not clump them too close together. I want them as far apart as possible, but I want them all under the seed on the paper towel. So I put them all on this top half. And then I'm going to take the other half of the paper towel and I'm going to fold it over the seeds. I know you can't really see this. And then I'm going to, in this case, I could have done it half size. I'm going to fold it one more time. And so here we have the wet paper towel. The seeds are implanted in it. And then we're actually going to use our friend, the Ziploc baggie, obviously reused many, many, many times. Don't like the single use. And we're going to put it in our Ziploc baggie. And now it's critical. So a couple of things here are we are creating a little greenhouse effect. Here we are again with our greenhouse effect coming in handy. However, really important to poke some holes. So I've got just a little tool here. I'm going to poke 3 or 4 holes. And then I'm going to put this in a dark place, somewhere dark. And I'm going to check on it in a couple of days. So it should be a nice, dark, warm location. And when I come to check on it, I'm going to gently take the paper towel out. I'm going to open it up. And I should be able to start seeing that some of those seeds have germinated. At that point, you do, of course, need to transplant them into soil to continue to flourish and thrive. But to give you an idea of why this is a great tool to maximize germination is because it ensures the paper towel, the wet paper towel that's been impregnated with the microbes from the worm manure soaking is covering, it's encasing the entire seed, which ensures, I said this at the top, I'm saying it at the bottom, the seed senses if there is the biology around it, because that biology is what's going to support it as soon as it germinates. So in this case, we have given it the best shot at sensing that biology is right there and it's waiting and it's ready and the moisture is consistent and even and accessible. This is like this is like a premium condo setup for your favorite seeds. This is sending them to the best possible seed spa to really allow them to rejuvenate and eventually to germinate. Okay, so love that technique. We're running out of time here. I want to make sure that I get to your questions. So I'm going to look to Nat. Are there questions? Yes, there are questions. Okay, so let me just give me a half a second here and I will start looking at the questions. Okay, so there was a sound problem, but no, the sound was okay. And we got that sorted out. Excellent. Love the team support here, helping Ann get the sound going. Oh, all right. So, still having some sound issues. Now I know why my producer was wondering. Okay, first question. Can you please explain the difference between potting and seed starting mix? There was noise in the call and I couldn't hear. All right, so great question, and I'm happy to touch on this again. So the common knowledge out there that you'll see often is that you want to buy a seed starting mix. And one of the biggest differences with a seed starting mix is how fluffy it is. Fluffy, of course, not the technical term. I believe it's loft. But basically it's this idea of you don't want to use dirt from outside. You don't want to use like a triple mix because that soil is dense. It's very heavy. And in fact, if you imagine a seed and it's sprouting out and it only has a very little amount of existing energy in its seed packet, and if it has to work too hard, if it has to push away too much soil or little rocks, for example, it's just not going to make it. It's just not going to get up to above the soil where it then can start to photosynthesize and make more energy, right? So that seed it's pre-filled with a certain amount of energy to allow it to grow a little bit through light, fluffy, easily movable soil to get up to the light. So that is the biggest indicator, biggest difference, or why things are labeled like a seed starting mix. There are other pieces involved as well. So moisture, a seed starting mix is going to be really good at holding moisture. Again, talking about how critical that is. A seed starting mix is potentially also, in our case, so perhaps this leads to the next question, which is how come we're selling a potting soil that is good for seed starting as well? And it really comes down to the magic ingredients in this soils. And that's the two things. The first is that it is peat free. And so it has that loft, that nice fluffiness that is going to allow the seed to germinate as well as it can with its limited amount of energy. The second piece, and I go back to this because it's so critical, is around the living microbiology, the mother nature. We bagged mother nature in the soil is the short version of that. And that's why seeds in nature, like weed seeds, for example, are so successful. They have access to all the bacteria, the fungi, the nematodes, all the organisms that give them those on-demand nutrients. That is what we have put into our potting soil that's going to allow your seeds to really flourish and thrive from day one. Most traditional seed starting mixes do not have that, and you would have to supplement it. So if you find yourself in that scenario, you already bought a sterile seed mix, and that's why it's sterile, it doesn't have anything, no organisms in it, then what I would suggest is get yourself some worm manure and use that, as I showed you earlier, to sprinkle on top. You're going to reinvigorate that sterile mix with some of the microbiology. It won't be quite as good as the living potting soil, but it's going to get you half the way there. All right, okay, let's go here. What's next? Okay, so Corinna's asked, which of your products would you recommend to use for container gardening? How much should I use for a 12-inch container? And I happen to know Corinna is a friend of mine. She has a great product called My Grow Box, GRO. Check it out, mygrowbox.com. It's a really awesome container that is breathable and made, again, of natural materials. It's made of jute, so you're avoiding the plastic. And Corinna, I would say for a 12-inch container, which is about the size of your My Grow Box product, you're looking at about a 20-liter bag. So this is our largest format of the potting soil. It's about 6 kilograms, 20 liters. And this is going to really suit that. We're talking about a container about this size. That would be my recommendation there. All right. Kim is asking, can we buy the heat mat from you? Kim is my accountant, so Kim, I will do whatever you would like me to do. You want me to give you my heat mats? I will give you my heat mats. That's how important you are to me. Okay, Peter, could you remind us about how to pre-soak the potting soil? Yes, Peter. Okay, so in order to pre-soak the potting soil, I'm going to show you guys right here. I'm going to take this little bag, and I'll mention for those of you who got it, who have to go, the discount, and this will be going out in the email afterwards. So the reward, if you will, for showing up is that if you buy the large worm manure, we're going to throw in a free bag of the potting soil, the 5-liter bag. And in particular, I chose this as the special deal for those of you attending today because, like I said, the worm manure is excellent. You can use it in so many different ways, from seed starting to transplanting throughout the summer growing season. You look at this huge bag. This is going to last you. You're going to just have huge success, higher yields, healthier plants. Put this shit on anything. That's a good one, right? And I want you to try this soil though, right? This is not an inexpensive product, right? Good quality costs money. And this is handmade by me and my team. Once a week, we're mixing this potting soil with our own ingredients, so it's not cheap, but it's really effective. And so I want to give this to you as a free gift when you buy the worm manure. To access that deal, you're going to use Start Seeds Now as the discount code on soilbooster.ca. Start Seeds Now, all one word. And you'll put both products into your cart, and then you'll see that this one gets zeroed out. If you have any trouble with it, there's going to be an email going out afterwards, or just shoot us a quick note. We'll get you sorted out. Okay. Pre-soak the potting soil. Totally forgot what I was doing. All right. And I'm running out of time. Keep going, Jocelyn. Keep going. All right. So, a few folks are asking about pre-soaking the potting soil. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to dump out this is the 5 liters. And fortunately, we have a handy little instructions here on the bag. So it says rehydrate before use. Soak 5 liters of soil with 2 liters of water for 1 hour. Now, of course, if I had some kind of a container here, I know what I could use. This is a little thing I like to call making do, where I'm using my my coffee pot to, and I also have to go way back, way out of my kitchen, because those of you who have never been here may not appreciate that yes, this is not a real live set, and it is in fact my kitchen, and right now the sink is being used to hold the tripod, which is being used to hold my camera, which is being used to film this. So it's a real operation, you could say. But hey, look there, 2 liters of water in the coffee pot. Use what you got around here. So I poured that on the 5 liters of the potting soil. Don't want to break that. Trust me, you do not want to deal with me in the morning if I have not had coffee. Am I right, folks? Those who know, they know. Okay, so I'm soaking that. That's going to take about an hour. And I could get all into why that's important and how we put in something called yucca, which is a way to ensure that water is going to be absorbed and held. It's one of the tweaks that we've actually made recently to make the potting soil that much more absorbent, to make it suitable for seed starting. But the short version is just let it sit. It's going to soak up the water, and in an hour, you'll be ready to start planting with that. Okay, so keep going. Missed. Okay, Peter, that is not a real question, so I'm not sure what you mean. Forget to label. Oh, Susan, you're a sharp one. I forgot to label the tomatoes. You're right. And so, Susan, you get to win the free discount pack. So you're going to get the 4 kg worm manure. You're going to get the potting soil 5 liters. Maybe if you're comfortable, put your address into the chat. If not, shoot me an email. Congratulations, you are on the ball, or should I say on the tomato. Did you forget to put the worm manure on the tomato seeds? I may have also forgot. No, I did do that. I didn't. Corinne, come on. Of course, I'm not forgetting the most important thing here. I'm quite sure I did not forget to do that. Okay. Oh, Peter, you got the answer as well, but not quite fast enough. Oh, good. This is fun. I'm gonna have to do this each time. I like these live contributions. Can you do this for any seeds? Peter's asking, can you do this for any seeds? Any seeds that can be started indoors that are okay with transplanting. So I mentioned at the top that certain seeds have to be direct sown. Carrots is a really good example. So double check. I would say about 70 to 80% of seeds are more than happy to be transplanted, but there are a few where it don't work so well. Okay, seeds. Okay, excellent, thank you. How do you avoid dampening off in seedlings? Okay, Maxine, this is a great question. I'm going to quickly address it here, but we are going to do another webinar, which is the next step when you have to pot up your seeds that you've started, which is a better time to address this question. So dampening off, it sounds like something to do with moisture, and it can be related to moisture, but it actually refers to a fungal infection or a pathogenic infection of your seedlings. And it is quite a common challenge. Certainly things like having good airflow, having space between your seedlings is one way to help. And the other thing that when I've looked into this in the past, the science suggests that having a healthy microbial community is one of the best insurances against something like dampening off. And that's because the seedlings are getting the right nutrients at the right time. And the microbiology also plays a role in terms of health and wellness. They're kind of like your first responders. They're like your doctors and your nurses. And so if there is a concern with dampening off, which again is a pathogen, you want to have that healthy living microbiome in your soil to provide first aid and help the seedlings fight that off. So that would be my suggestion. I'm getting the old flag from my producer, so I know that we're almost out of time. Maxine's also talking about seed snails, which I understand is if you roll your paper towel up into a little cylinder, which is very cool that you've done that, Maxine. And I'm wondering, okay, we've got a few other questions here. Yes, you can pre-soak in the existing container. So if you want to pre-soak it right where you're going to use the soil, you can definitely do that. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up there. I've almost gone over time. I told you guys I love this. Give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? You're going to have a bunch of seeds. Probably the worst thing that can happen is that you have all your seeds germinate and then you don't know what to do with yourself. I guarantee you it's going to be fun. It's a great relaxing activity, and there's nothing more exciting than having your little sprouts come up and being able to give them that TLC that I mentioned initially. So thank you guys for joining me. I really look forward to hearing about your seed starting activities. And remember that Jocelyn Soil Booster is the best way to grow healthy plants, healthy people, and a healthy planet.